Special guest. I'll just share with you.
Yeah.
AJ.
Call to order. Dr. D will lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Yes.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call roll, please.
Miss Claude Felter. Here. Miss Nyworth.
Here. Ms. Edwards? Here. Dr. Bridges? Here. Mr. Jester?
Here. Special guests tonight.
Yes, tonight we actually have three special guests, and I'm going to start with the most exciting. We have our newest officer. Well, she's actually not our newest. No, she's not our newest. But this is Coco Chanel.
I will ask
Coco Chanel.
everybody get it.
Hey,
This is
Coco.
our first introduction.
Right, this is Coco. She's just right at a year old right now. She's going through her narcotics phase of training, doing excellent. She's doing really good. Kids love her. I've been taking her to quite a few of the elementaries, the high schools, and she's full of life.
Yeah.
She's a handful at a year old, but she's very, very calm around children. We've got a video we'd like to show y'all and just kind of give a brief introduction of her.
You want to play?
Yeah, she likes to steal the show too, so. But hopefully she'll be fully certified narcotic-wise within the next month and a half.
Awesome.
She's doing really, really good, so. We're ready.
So you'll just go to school, random?
Yes, we'll just do random sniffs and go from there.
She's
done.
I'm out of here.
Thank you very much.
She's still a puppy. All you can say, just 1 year
she's
old.
a
Well, thank you,
year
sir, for introducing.
Show our video.
Can we get a video?
No, we don't have video set up for tonight. We'll show it another night.
Okay.
Before you go, what's your name?
My name is Jimmy Gallagher.
Jimmy who?
Gallagher?
Gallagher.
Yes, sir.
Great.
He's our caterer.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Bye, Coco.
We're done. That's awesome.
And they hadn't planned Coco being here, but we're always going to make room for Coco.
That's right.
I have another guest. I was at a, first of all, Miss Nyworth was honored Saturday night at the National Sorority of Phi Delta Kappa at the Epsilon Delta chapter. And they had a banquet, I just sat down. I'm excited to eat some cheesecake. And then I noticed, after it started, I was reading, we had another LPS person in the room. And so I thought everybody was there for Miss Nyworth. I thought she had packed the room, but there were 5 honorees. And so we have Christina Bosch here, which I'm going to ask to come up. And she was honored by the chapter for her outstanding contribution to the field of education. And so I'd like her to introduce herself and share any thoughts she wants with the board.
I teach at Lawton High School. My age range right now is 10th grade and 11th grade, so my kids are anywhere from 15 to 17. It's a juggling with all their, drama. But I love my kids, and this was such a wonderful, wonderful honor of being recognized. I teach sophomore English and junior English, so, yeah. All right.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And I think the room was halfway full of LPS educators. It was just about all.
It was a love fest.
It was. And then next, we also have our guest from our JROTC, and Mr. Taylor and his cadets. They're going to give us a presentation.
Good evening, board members. I'm Colonel Taylor from Madison High School, JROTC. I brought with me 4 of my distinguished cadets, and they'll give you a little reflection on the inspection that they had today.
I am Juan Carlos Negron Gonzalez, and today we participated in it was what we call the JPA. It's something that we have, it's like a big inspection for the whole battalion that we have every 3 school years, and today just happens to be the day that we did it for this year. And this gold star stands for the honor unit with distinction, and whether we pass or fail this 3-year inspection determines whether we have or maintain the star. So this year we passed with a 97.8, so we get to keep our star for the next 3 years. Yes. And in this JPA, something big that we do inside of it is the continuous improvement project, which is something that we do that has it has to pertain to a relevant issue that we have in whether either our school, our battalion, or just in Oklahoma as a state in general. And I have with me my Command Sergeant Major, and she'll explain to you more about her role in the CIP.
Hello, my name is Michaela Whalen. I am the Command Sergeant Major at Eisenhower High School, and my role in CIP, our project, we're trying to teach the cadets to live healthier lifestyles and develop healthy habits. And my role in this CIP project is I conduct biweekly first sergeant meetings, which means I sit down with the first sergeants of our companies to ensure that they're keeping all of the companies up to date and on task with everything we're doing. I'm also in charge of conducting a biweekly newsletter to ensure that my cadets as well know what's going on, and I post kind of reward-like things in there to make sure that they feel motivated and they are recognized for their accomplishments. CIP is important to me basically because, you know, I don't know if have you guys read the study? Oklahoma is the fifth most obese kids, and yeah, 5th highest obesity rate from kids from 10 to 17. And we're working to change that, starting with our battalion, moving into our school, and hopefully our state. So I will be followed by our battalion S2.
Good evening. My name is Cadet Staff Sergeant Lena Price. I've been in the program. This is my 2nd year in the program. During the CIP, my role is to promote a healthy lifestyle for the cadets. I'm publicity, so I work with the cadets by what they see and what they don't see. My job is to motivate and inspire the cadets to engage in the physical training that happens every week. I do this by promoting a healthy lifestyle with slogans and motivational posters throughout the classroom, so the cadets feel inspired and they want to participate. And that's what I do.
Hello, I'm Cadet Sergeant First Class Clark, and I'm part of the Service Learning Project of the Eagle Battalion. Today we had our inspection, and we had to brief about what we were doing in the battalion. One thing we did throughout the battalion was we did a 5K, a bake sale, and other to raise awareness. We wanted to help our community. We worked with the Relay for Life, and we also have something this Friday at Eisenhower. If y'all would like to come, that would be amazing. Thank you for your time.
So what time?
The time is 6.
6 Friday.
What is it that we're gonna have?
We're going to be walking to raise awareness.
Walking?
Walk the track.
Actually, we will be at Eisenhower Gym. We'll be from 6 to 12 for anyone that wants to come, and from 12 a.m. until 6 p.m. in the morning for teams.
A lot.
So far, correct. We have 7 teams so far, and up to this day, we raised about $600.
That's great. Awesome.
Thank you.
Brave man.
Thank you, Colonel Taylor.
They all look fit.
Being the ones that work most directly with the project, we have to set the example.
Yeah.
Very good.
He's got it. You got it going.
Can I ask a question? You guys are all so well-spoken and confident. I'm just really impressed. Is that something that y'all work on in the ROTC program?
Yes.
It shows.
It's very important to be able to speak to crowds and be able to spread our message to everybody.
Most importantly for us too, because I'm the battalion executive officer, which is the 2nd highest position, so I'm constantly in charge of these.
Well, you're all very well suited for it. You're doing great.
Thank
Good
you
job.
guys. We appreciate
As
you.
a matter of fact, it went out to, Carlos went out to Fit Kids of Southwest Oklahoma, gave the same presentation to the Fit Kids of Oklahoma, so it was very well received.
Good for
We
you.
also want to thank you, board members, because we know that when we go to drill meetings and all things like that, we thank you all for supporting us. Dr. Davis, as well, we thank you for supporting us as well, because if it would not be for all the members here, there would be no GRTC. And so we want to thank you for the 100 other cadets that could not be here tonight. We'd like to thank you for it.
Well, it's a very important program.
Agreed.
So we appreciate it.
You're doing great things. Keep it up.
Thank you.
And again, you all are welcome to stay, or you're also welcome to go. It won't affect us.
Yeah, we know you want
So thank you all very much.
We never get any takers to stay.
All right, that concludes my
Special guest.
special guests.
All right, item number 5 is departmental reports.
Under item 5, we have item 5A, which is the written weekly update for the board. And if the board doesn't have any specific questions, I'll move on to item 5B. And this will be our 4th presentation of one of the board's big rocks. And this presentation is so big, it's the mountain. We're actually going to, Dr. Polk and her team have decided to separate into 2 separate presentations, one for this board meeting and one for the next on the 15th. So without further ado, I'll pass it over to Dr. Polk and her team.
Good evening.
Good evening.
And what an honor it is to follow the students. And I'm very, very impressed. And Colonel, how did they do?
They did a great job.
That's what we need to hear. I'm Jamie Polk. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services. Tonight we have the opportunity to share the pathway to academic achievement, which is in line with the board goals. As Dr. Deegan has said, we like to do this presentation in 2 parts. Part 1 will answer the questions, who are we and where are we going? Then on November 15th, we will share how we will get there. In front of you, I have a booklet. Please note it does say draft on the front because there will be some things that will be added to it at a later date for our November 15th presentation. In just a moment, you'll hear from Ms. Hatch, Ms. Trinidad, and Mark Manningly, and then I will come back behind them to share or to wrap up and summarize. With that being said, Ms. Hatch, will you please come to the podium?
Good evening. My name is Brenda Hatch, and I'm the Executive Director of Teaching and Learning. And how exciting it is to stand up in front of the board and talk about what we're all about. I want to start by celebrating the amazing teachers and principals that we have here in our district. You know, in spite of not having adequate resources for the last several years, and that is definitely changing this year with our new textbooks and with technology, but in the last few years, that has definitely been an area that we lacked. The teacher shortage, training a high number of emergency certified and alternatively certified teachers, larger classroom sizes than normal, and again, those are starting to come down. But we've persevered through changes in our state academic testing and our state academic standards, and yet our teachers have continued to produce students who are very comparable to all the other students across the state, and in many areas outperform them as well. The Ed Services team has been busy working hard trying to develop a data packet like part of what you see in front of you that's going to help provide information on where we stand currently so that our district administrators, principals, students, and teachers can better analyze the data and take action to improve it. We are rich in data. It just has not been organized and easily accessible. And so as we start to get things in one location where we can compare data points, it's going to make a huge difference. The packet that you received tonight is designed for a district level administrator. It gives you an overall view of the entire district broken down by school and grade level. This report will help us to establish goals, to plan professional development, to ensure that teachers have the resources they need, and to look for gaps in our curriculum that may be contributing to some of the lower scores. When you look at the data, you're going to find results from last spring's OSTP assessment. This data is important because it helps us to identify areas that we need to work on to improve for this year, but it's also how we are evaluated on the state A through F report card. For the progress monitoring piece of the data, you're going to be seeing STAR 360 data, which is a comprehensive screener and diagnostic tool that we give 4 times a year so we can monitor student progress and identify any gaps in learning. It also gives us a good indicator of how many of our students are on target to be proficient in that state test in the spring. You'll also be seeing data from our district interim assessments that we give 3 times a year, and an interim assessment is designed to test what the teacher has taught up to that point, not the whole comprehensive curriculum. I know it's going to take time to go through this packet on your own, but I would like to briefly discuss parts of the content and to clarify some information, and then just to provide a summary. So if you will, turn to page 15 in the packet. I'm going to start with my summary, and then we'll work through some of the charts and graphs that you'll be able to look at later. First of all, excited to announce that overall our students in elementary school and middle school outperform the other students across the state in the area of reading. Our math scores, on the other hand, are lower than what the state average is, and so we know that that is a big focus for our district. Our biggest concern right now is a large discrepancy in how our 3rd graders perform compared to how other 3rd graders perform across the state, and also the low 8th grade scores. They'll be the very same as the state's, but you'll notice in a few minutes when we look at a chart how low the 8th grade scores are. Based on the school rankings that we'll see in just a few minutes, there are some schools that we need to prioritize with support. That support could include preferential hiring, additional resources, professional development, or anything deemed necessary for that school to bring those scores up. On number 5, our STAR 360 data for progress monitoring between the tests that our students took in August and in October, it indicates greater gains for our elementary students than for our middle school students. And so right now we're in the process of figuring out the why of that as well. We need to continue checking for alignment. We have a new interim assessment, and so we're always checking to make sure that it is aligned to our state testing and that it is very appropriate. We noticed that on our 6th grade test, there's some outlier scores there, so we'll be evaluating that also. In a few minutes, I'll show you a chart because that A3F report card that I referred to has changed from what it's been in the past. This year, we will be evaluated based on priority groups, and I'll show you those groups in just a few minutes. But we needed to take it all the way down to not just this subject or this grade needed help, but all the way down to which group of students need help. And so if you look at number 7, I've identified the groups of students who are indicating that they need more support and more focus there as well. Now, as we flip through the next few pages, I won't spend a lot of time, but I just want to show you what those charts are. On page 16, you're going to be able to see how does Lawton Public Schools in the blue compare to how students did across the state. So your first one is our English Language Arts chart, and then of course the math on the bottom. Proud of what we're doing in reading. We just know that we have some work that we need to do in math, and you can see what I was talking about when I talked about the 8th grade scores. If you turn the page on page 17, on 17 and 18, I've given you, on page 17 is the English Language Arts, but you'll be able to see how our elementary and middle school students rank within our district. But you can also see how do we rank compared to the state and to Lawton as a whole. The schools that are highlighted in that kind of an orange color, those are ones that are our priority schools that we're concerned about. They have less than 25% of the students showing proficiency, and so we have identified them as needing extra support. There's a key there to let you know what the colors mean and what the numbers on that page represent. So on page 17 you have ELA, and on 18 the same thing for math. On page 19 is just a list and summary again of those schools and those grade levels and subjects where we need to put more emphasis. The box at the bottom would indicate schools as a whole that we know are our priority schools that we need to do some of those practices that we mentioned earlier. If you look at page 20, the top chart again is the OSTP data, just another way to look at it. But if you look in the middle of the page, that is a report of how we're doing on our STAR 360. You can see that the students have taken one in August and one in October. This is the percentage of students who are projected to score proficient. And we saw some great gains in the elementary, did not see as great a gains in the middle school for this for the second assessment to compare. And then the bottom chart there is our interim assessment. We took our first one in October. We'll do 2 more. And the first score that you see there is the average test score for that grade level. And then out beside it is the percentage of students who scored 70% or above. On page 21, that's where the chart gets confusing looking, but this is exactly what I was talking about with the A through F report card. If you look down that left-hand side, the first line is just the whole grade level in itself. But then this is what we're talking about. Our district will be evaluated based on each priority group. And the first priority group will be the IEP students. So they'll pull any student out with an IEP, they'll look at their scores, and we'll get certain points based on that. There's one part of the report card that is for academic growth, and there's one part of the report card that's for academic achievement of if they met their target or not. All of those students are pulled out that will only be counted one time. So of all the students that are left, now they'll go look at economically disadvantaged students, and we'll get a score for them. And then they'll all be pulled out. They won't be counted twice, and it'll keep going down that list. And that is the order of our priority groups. So when we look at that information, I went out to a school this past week, and they had this information, and they were drilling it all the way down to a student and a student's name, and knowing we have 4 kids here who weren't proficient, how many of them can we move over, and what's their score, and how close are they, and just putting that name and face to a score, and not just, oh, our score, our overall score for our school was this. So they're actually getting it down to the student level. I shared with you earlier which priority groups were a focus based on how we did on the sheet. The first one is elementary, and the second would be middle school. The next several pages is, again, if we're going to provide professional development, if we are going to find additional resources, if we are going to coach teachers on improving, then we needed to know which objectives, which strands were our weakest ones. And so we've identified, based on OSTP, STAR, and our interim assessment, where do we need the most help. And so this is where we'll focus professional development. This is where teachers will pull information for collaboration to know if this skill's coming ahead and it's a tough one, what do we need to do differently, amount of time we spend on it, what resources do we need. I'll be anxious to talk to you once you're able to kind of absorb that and internalize all of that data. But at this time, based on what I've presented for elementary and middle school, do you have any questions for me? Yes.
Down on the bottom of your A through F report card, number of student, what's wrong one? It's 22, or
yes.
It doesn't matter, 22 for one. The number of white/2 races meeting target, what is that?
Okay, so let's take a look at that. Once they have pulled all the other categories out, if there are any students left who they weren't IEP, they weren't economically disadvantaged, they weren't ELF, they went all the way down here, and that was their last category, was white with 2 or more races. If you look on there, they identify African American, Hispanic, Native American, and then white. Mm-hmm. Some people choose to put 2 or more races, and so they would fall into that category. Yep.
Then my last question is, I have a kindergarten grandson, and his teacher told my daughter that they did some tests at the beginning of the year for them. How do you test a kindergartner?
So there is a STAR, is early literacy, and it is geared toward letter recognition, sound recognition. It's an earlier reading assessment that they give to look for, reading rooms. Absolutely. And they even get on the computer, and they do it on the computer. It's amazing.
They can't miss computer lab, believe me.
It is amazing. Whenever I presented my goals to you in September, they were centered around valid assessments, data-driven culture, curriculum strategies, and instructional monitoring and support. And so the work that we're doing right now is going to help the teachers move the students down that pathway to the academic achievement. And I've given you a snapshot of elementary and middle, and I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Trinidad to share with you the high school data.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Kelly Trinidad. I'm Executive Director of Secondary Education for Lawton Public Schools. And, our students, the high school, it's that last gasp, that big push before we send them out into the world. It's probably one of the most critical times whenever we're trying to get them to that point to where they're ready to contribute to society, be that career-ready individual, and be able to function and do well outside our hallways and our classrooms. And naturally, that's where our focus is Testing and assessment at the high school level is somewhat a little bit different because high schools are set up differently because we have that expertise, approach. What I know is math, what I know is English, what I know is biology. And so it gives us a great opportunity to really look at things in a different lens. My section here for secondary begins on page 31, if you'd like to turn over there. 31. Now, there are 3 systems of testing that we adhere to at the high school level. The first one is STAR, and which, as Mrs. Hatch mentioned, it's a diagnostic. A child or a student takes that because they want to know what's up with this kid, what's happening, what do they know, what do they not know. Then we also have USA Test Prep, and then of course the ACT. Now on page 31, one of the things I'm particularly proud of on this page as you look at this test or this table is prior to this, we did not have particularly great cooperation and adherence to the STAR testing. That was always a little bit more of a challenge at the high school level. And I have to say, this year, my campuses have come through with flying colors. They are taking the test and the students are taking them seriously. So right there, you can see the percentages of students tested. As you flip the page, on page 32, we've got a table here. The top is math, and the bottom is English and reading. And basically STAR provides an opportunity for them to convert their score into a comparable ACT score. Doesn't mean that it's exact. The frameworks on the 2 tests are a little bit different, but that is comparable right there. And as you can kind of take a look right here, grades 9, 10, and 11, they've achieved up to 90% of the on-track STAR math score. We still do have a concern at the 9th grade Algebra 1 level, and that goes right hand in hand. As you look at the middle school data, you'll see that we've got a little bit of a struggle at that 8th grade math point. And so it kind of makes sense that probably our area of concern will be our 9th grade Algebra 1. We did, our sophomores at the 10th grade level did beautifully in English too. So they're performing well there. Now, if we take a look, if you flip on over, page 33, you've got tables that look like this, and there's quite a few of them. This is USA Test Prep. Now, USA Test Prep is probably considered one of the slightly more aligned with ACT. Nothing is still right there, but it's probably slightly more aligned with ACT. So as you take a look at the performance levels right here, you can see Algebra 1, Geometry 1, or excuse me, Geometry and Algebra 2. Probably the thing that's most encouraging about this is as our students are moving through our algebra, the more advanced courses and everything, their performance increases. They're moving from a 52% up to a 63%. So that tells us that once we do have those students in the math classrooms, we're teaching them and they're making progress. And that's incredibly encouraging. I have to say, we're still a little bit concerned on individual student performance. Most of those are sitting in the 40 to 69% area, and you can tell that's how these tables or these lines are split up. That will tell you the blue is 0 to 39% accurate, 40 to 69, and 70 to 100. So that ought to give you a little bit of a visual representation of what campuses are doing there with that. And of course, at the end, we've got the ACT, which is all the pretty much our end-all be-all. It's what is put on the A through F report card, and it's really what defines us as a district. You've already heard a little bit about the ACT from me prior to this. You'll recall that we have increased the number of students tested by over a third. We are literally testing so many more kids than what we ever did before, which is a fantastic thing. And as I mentioned before, overall the state has seen a somewhat decline in ACT scores. Ours have mirrored that in the same way that most all districts have in the state. I would say that probably the greatest difference that we have between state scores and district scores, that would be probably at the reading level, and with a 1-point difference. And then, believe it or not, the smallest difference that we have between the state, we come the closest to the state in mathematics, and that is a .48. right there. So that tells us even though we have some struggling times whenever our students are those underclassmen, they pull it together and they get the job done whenever they get to this ACT test. And I'm always grateful for their willingness to really step up and perform when the stakes are high. And that's exactly what they do. You know, as Mrs. Hatch mentioned, we do an amazing job when you look at the challenges that our teachers and our students have had to face. And the fact that we keep pace and we keep moving forward and there's continued growth is really a tribute to everyone who contributes. I do want to tell you a little bit about another indicator. If you will flip over to page 37. This is an indicator that is on the report card, A through F, and it's called the post-secondary opportunities. And the state has recognized that all post-secondary opportunities are really an incredible pathway to the future for our students. And so they put in this group, they put AP and pre-AP, concurrent enrollment. They also put career tech courses and any internships. So I've given you a little bit of a glimpse at what we're doing with each one of those 4 programs. You can see we've been at career tech and AP and pre-AP for a long time. And our internships and our concurrent, we're looking for growth in those. Now, one of the tremendous things that will really help our internship efforts will be that career pathways program that the state is putting together. And Mr. Mark Mattingly, he is the one who's heading up a lot of the efforts on that, so he's going to tell you a little bit more about that.
Good evening, Board. I'm Mark Mattingly, Executive Director of Student Services. Thank you for the opportunity to share some of the work that we're doing. I want to go back to Ms. Trinidad's conversation regarding the post-secondary opportunities for our students. My section begins on page 39 here in your book if you want to turn there. One of my responsibilities, as she said, is the area of career pathways, which includes some, not all, but some of the post-secondary activities. And I want to make you aware of a couple of them. The internship program is not a new program to Lawton Public Schools. It's been around for a while, but 4 years ago, we reintroduced career advisors into our schools, and last year, collaborating with the Tech Center, we hired a 3rd one. So we have a full-time career advisor at each school. And since they've come on board in 2015-16, you can see there on the page, I just have a little bit of that little graphic on page 39 showing the years and the numbers. That's the internship program. It was not new. It was, when it started, I believe it was a gifted and talented program. And then it kind of was put on the shelf, kind of went by the wayside. When our career advisors came on board, they reintroduced it. You can see in 2015-16, there were 14 students involved in the program, and it's grown each year. Currently, this year, they have 47 students interning. We have 2 applications right now for 2nd semester at Eisenhower High School, and we anticipate several more from the other schools. So you can see they have done a good job of growing the program. A couple of other activities that we have that I want to make you aware of that are planned is our AIM for Lawton leadership program, and that's geared towards sophomore students. That will be February 12th through 14th, and Ms. Nyworth knows full well what that's about. She's been working hard with us on that program, but that's a 3-day leadership institute that the students will have applied for. As a matter of fact, we just got the applications this week, had 35 applications for that program. We have 20 openings, so we're excited about that. And then later this month at Lawton First Assembly, we will be holding our first senior conference, and Ms. Edwards is a part of that. She's going to be doing one of the presentations. The seniors from all 3 high schools and Gateway and SCORE will be attending that program, and they'll have an opportunity to hear a keynote speaker and then select 3 different seminars from a menu of 16 on things like now I have to pay taxes, renting and real estate, college-bound, military culture, just a wide variety of real-world things that they're about to be faced with. And so we thought, we're excited about that opportunity, and it's been a great community effort coming together to do that. Another of my areas of responsibility deals with the first pathway to academic achievement, that being attendance. You know, if you aren't at school, you can't learn. So I'd like to give you a little bit of information regarding attendance for our LPS students. My data may be a little easier to decipher than what you've already looked at. But as you know, under ESSA and Oklahoma House Bill 3218, we adopted a new A to F accountability system. And there's a fair amount of research showing students with poor school attendance are more likely to perform poorly in school, drop out, experience future poverty, and future problems with the legal system. So as a result of this research, Oklahoma adopted chronic absenteeism as a 5th indicator on the report card. In the past, attendance was reported on average daily attendance. We would calculate the students who were there and we would average it. But you know, a school can have a 90% average daily attendance rate and still have 30% of their students chronically absent. And so chronic absenteeism really focuses on the individual students and gets the school to really look at those kids that are the ones who are going to have the serious problems. Chronic absenteeism is defined as your full academic years or phase students, and I'll explain that in just a moment, missing more than 10% of the school year, whether it's excused, unexcused, or suspensions. In Lawton, this equates to approximately 16 days that the students, if the students enrolled the full year. Now, a phase student or a full academic year is a student who enrolls within the first 20 days of the instructional year, first 20 instructional days. So, you know, if a student enrolled on the 19th day, then he would probably be chronically absent with 14 or 15 absences through the year. So that's how it's calculated. The ADF report card has a total of 90 points, and chronic absenteeism is worth 10 of those points, or about 11% of the total report card. So if a student, if you flip over to page 41, we can look at Adams Elementary. If a school, for example, in 2017-18, Adams Elementary had 13% of their students chronically absent, which translated to 87% who were not chronically absent. And so on the AF report card, out of the 10 points, that would translate into an 8.7 points. So that's how the system works. You can look at this chart here. This shows you the chronic rate for last year for each of our schools and the chronic rate from the beginning of this year until the 1st of November. The schools highlighted in green have made improvement, but it's important to note, you know, it's early in the year. We haven't experienced the flu season yet, but I will say that the awareness, just the awareness out in the schools among principals, counselors, teachers is much, much higher this year than it's ever been. And so they're keeping a close eye on it. There are a couple of other pages here I won't go into, but it shows how it breaks down by grade. This gives principals an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper and look and see who those students are that they need to be keeping an eye on. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
As we wrap up, in the educational world, there's a term called drip, where you can be data rich but information poor. So we have a lot of data here, But what we like to do is give you the opportunity, a couple weeks to look through. And then on November 15th, the directors will come and they'll dig in deeper and share with you the strategies and the objectives that we have, that we're enacting now in order for us to reach our goals. And so that's why we needed to do this in 2 parts in order to share. And then that last sheet that you have is very specifically in regards of the A to F report card, the things that the executive directors have lined up. That gives you that information there. And so just wanted to let you know. Then on November 15th, we will be ready for our directors to present very specifically our next steps.
If we go through here and we have questions between now and then, do you want us to email them or something to you so that they're prepared for them?
Please.
Okay.
That would be greatly appreciated, and just CC me on it when you give them to Dr. Deegan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
We are, I think we're giving the board so much information lately, might start spilling out.
5C.
Okay, 5C. Under 5C, we have an action item, and this is a very quick reminder of what happened. We had a suggestion brought, and so Mr. Dyer, dealing with our requested meal price increases for adult staff and visitors, Mr. Dyer had a question, so Mr. Dyer went back to the drawing board, and as always, if we can have a good comparison about between what it would cost, and so he's got 2 options for the board, and I think he probably has a recommendation which he prefers, but.
Oh, really? Thank you, Board. I'm Steve Dyer from the Child Nutrition Department, and tonight there, I hope you have a little Excel spreadsheet I put together real quickly just to try to give you some information about the numbers. As I did in my Big Rocks presentation, or about customer service actually, we serve nearly 3 million meals a year. And when we look at the adult meal serves, for breakfast and lunch, we're looking at just over 21,000. So it's about 1% of what we do, or a little less. So it's not a huge part, but it's a very important part. What I've shared with you are some numbers of the actual participation that we had last year from our adults and for our guests. And we had those numbers of about 20,301 lunches and only 1,377 breakfasts, which is not a ton. But I listed out option 1 with the split pricing program, the $3.75 that's proposed for staff lunches and the $4 for guests. And we also looked at it over to the right. If we did the same price of $3.75 for everyone, how much the difference would be. We also did the same thing down in the bottom part for the breakfasts. When we add everything together and compare the two, we're looking at roughly $81,449 in revenue under option 1 and $81,293 under option 2. And the difference is so minimal, it's only $156. So, as a recommendation, I'm happy to do it. Either way, I see pros and cons to both sides. I think it's very important to show, our employees how much we value them and try to give them a break when possible. But also, we have a lot of older grandparents and volunteers that get possibly charged at that higher price. And so I don't know that it makes a huge amount of difference for our cashiers. I think it's easier if it's just one option. But then again, I still think it's very important to take in the feelings of our LPS staff. So tonight I ask you to possibly act on option 1 or 2.
Since I'm the one that actually brought this, I, of course, want option 2. And my deal is I don't think the teachers are going to be overly concerned if a parent is eating at the same rate they are. I don't even think that's going to come into their, I'm not concerned. And I know it's not a lot, but most of our parents are, well, I live in an area that's, economically challenged. And so the little bit they can save means something. that quarter could go for a pickle or whatever it is that the kids want on Friday, you know, so.
I gotta commend Mr. Dyer, he did a good, without being able to compare them side by side, we're talking about $156 here.
Yeah.
And so that makes it a little easier decision, so I think Mr. Dyer and I both think it's up to the pleasure of the board.
You did say it would be easier for your cashiers if everybody was the same.
If everyone just hits the same button for an adult meal, then
You don't
it
have
takes away that confusion, or, you know, if they thought they were, you know, a guest. Honestly, there's probably a lot of times that they don't see somebody with an ID badge, but they've seen them before, and so they probably charge them the adult price or the staff price.
I paid both meals.
As you can see, it's like 13-to-1 in lunches, and so it's a huge amount of folks that are on the staff.
Well, I make a motion to accept option 2.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Okay, item 6, architect and construction manager risk update. We don't look in the thread, do we?
Good evening, everybody. I'll start us off tonight.
Good evening.
I'm Corey Miller with AIP, and we've got Michael Chaney and Jeff Williams with Crossland with us as well. Just a quick update on some of the miscellaneous projects going on around town. The Carriage Hills, Tomlinson, and Lawton High re-roofs. You know, as we've said before, those are substantially complete, but we actually have some forms on the agenda later in the evening for approval by the board, and we also have a couple change orders that are returning unused contingency back to the district. The Adams re-roof, we signed a contract for construction at the last board meeting, so we'll be starting that one very soon. We've got a pre-construction meeting planned for the 13th, and we'll get forward roofing going on that one. Let's see here. Lincoln's HVAC system replacement, that one continues to truck along. If you drive by, you'll see we've got some screen walls going up now, and just really proud of the way the brick really matches that 1908 building there. MacArthur High window replacement, they're finishing up the punch list there and getting ready for their closeout document submittal. I believe the access control vendor is going to be on site starting tomorrow to hook up all the new openings to the security system and get that coordinated. With the safe rooms, we went vertical on Almore West and I believe Edison today. So you'll actually see panels standing in the air at those sites. For the Eisenhower Middle School, we opened bids on some of the later packages on the 25th. Crossland's vetting those bidders right now, and we'll have a GMP ready for the next board meeting to present to y'all. Y'all have any questions? Yes, you got a road out to the middle of the mud hole. Yeah, piers are progressing over there despite all the rain, and I believe they've moved on to the second area.
We're in Area C right now.
They're kind of working counterclockwise, and Area D's done, they're on to Area C.
We appreciate all the hard work y'all are doing, and it's wonderful to go through the district and see things starting to change and
Yeah.
progress, and awesome.
We're excited too. You guys have anything to add? All right, thank you all.
Any questions for the CMAR? Any questions? Thank you all very much.
Thank you all for coming. And you're welcome to stay, but you're welcome to go also.
You mean you're not planning to stay?
He's going back up on the city.
Yeah.
All right. Good job.
All right, item 7, report of the superintendent.
Here we have several items on my report tonight. The first will be a Bank of Oklahoma bond update, and Bank of Oklahoma on October 5th gave me and Miss Elizabeth Brown Hill an update of where we are on our bond process and kind of projections of what we look at over our next process as we sell our next series. I invited them to come to our Bond Oversight Committee meeting today, and so this will be their second presentation today. So they're going to lead us through that briefly, and we have Mr. Chris Gander and Dr. Joe Sayano here with us.
Hi. Dr. Polk was nicer than I was. I did not like those ROTC people because they are going to make me look like a horrible speaker. and they're like a third of my age. So and draw your attention that this isn't real exciting stuff I'm going through. So we'll just get into it. I'll go fairly quickly, but stop me at any point. There's quite a few pages. We'll skip several of them. So with that, Chris Gander with BOK Securities. I also have Dr. Sayano with me tonight as well. On the first page, looks like this. This is just a breakdown of your net assessed valuation. With GO bonds, you issue the bonds. We calculate what the debt service payment is. That's divided by the net assessed valuation of the school district, and everybody pays their pro rata share of that debt, and that's where the mill levy comes from. So you have $367 million in real, 29 million in personal, and then 33 million in public, for a total of 430 million of net assessed valuation. There's a 10% cap as it relates to how much debt any school district can have outstanding at any one time. You guys are at 32% of that, so you're well within your legal limit. On the following page, this is just a historic, once again, that's one of the largest, the most important number as it relates to this calculation. So we kind of have to do some kind of projection as we look forward of what your growth rate will be. So you can see from 1996 to 2018 what your net assessed valuation has been of the school district. You can see the growth rate on the column to the right. And we had a couple years that were negative, including this current year, which we actually had, it was almost flat, just negative 0.23%. So in our analysis, we're using 1% as the growth rate. The following page shows the bond issues you currently have outstanding. You have 4 bond issues outstanding. 3 of them were the 2014 election. 1 of them is from the 2017 election. So a total of $14,695,000 of bonds outstanding at the moment. You can skip the next page, and the following page, which looks like this, aggregates the page you saw before. And so to the left, that's the fiscal years, and then across the top is each of the bonds you had seen. So the 2016, 2017A, 2017B, and 2018. And then down below is showing how much of a levy is for each bond issue. We divide that by the net assessed valuation. There's several other adjustments in there. So your levy as it relates to the bond payment is 13.32 mils. If you didn't issue any more bonds from this day forward, even though you have authorization you would need to make your lease payments, your levy would fall to 8.66, then to 4.81, and then it would go back to 0. So that's kind of a snapshot of where you are today. The next page is just a general synopsis of where you guys have been. You have, once again, the 2014, you had an election for $28,760,000. You've issued 5 series from that authorization. You have $10,405,000 left outstanding. You had the large, historic kind of $99,500,000 bond proposal that was passed in 2017. We did our first issue from that, and down below, and our target was that to stair step up to a mill levy of 25.75 mils. So down below, in the red, you can see the authorization date, the $28,760,000, and in the blue, November 17th, the $99 million, and then to the right, it's showing where those bonds are going to be issued in the future, and to the very far right, the levies. Then we'll skip a few more pages. Once again, I'll stop if you guys. It's a whole bunch of numbers in very small print. I know that.
Very small.
This page here actually was on letter size when I saw it this morning. I asked it to be reprinted on legal, so it's a little bit bigger. But same thing, we're back to, this is a summary of all those other pages you just saw, but now we're looking forward. We're looking at all the future bonds. So once again, to the left, it's the fiscal years. Across the top, it's the bonds. We're going to issue 1 bond per year in 19, 20, 21, 22. And in the gray, that has the total bond size. So in 19, it'll be $14,380,000. In 2020, $8 million. And I'll pause there in the sense that there's a lot of assumptions we don't know what the growth rate is. So if the growth rate's greater, we'll tweak this. If the interest rates are higher or lower, so every year we come back, recalibrate, come back, and present it again, and we'll rework this. So this isn't set in stone. This is just what we expect to do, assuming our assumptions are accurate. So with that, you can go across the top, see what your total bond issue size are. The red, that's what's coming from the 2000, there's a little table down at the bottom. The red is from the 2014 election, so from 2019 bonds, you're gonna have $1,300,000 to transportation, $1,395,000 to building. Once again, that's from the 2014 authorization. And then in the blue, you'll have $8 million, I can't see it either, $685,000 that'll make the lease payment, and the $3 million for other projects. So, and then you go across till this. And if you go to the far right, once again, you can see where we're at 13.32 mils today, stair step up to 18.78, then 19.97, and then work our way up to that approximately 25 to 26 mils. So that really says a whole lot on one page. If there's one you're really looking at, it's that one, and kind of the summary that we read earlier. The following page has the little table. This is your historic levy. What has your sinking fund levy been? In 2001, it was 0. In 2017, it was 7.39. It's been high as 2006 and 13.83. And then once again, you can see what we expect it to be going forward, assuming we issue the bonds as scheduled. And then the last page is everything we've done to this point was the sinking fund levy, which is just one small part of the taxes paid by property owners. You're going to pay your property tax for City of Lawton. With the school district, you have your operational levy and your building fund levy. Then the sinking fund levy we've been talking about. Then the county, career tech. So in 2017, the total levy was 85.59. If you had a $100,000 house, your tax bill would have been $877.30. And this is what we laid out to the voters. It was on the website. Everybody understood that. So we take it out all the way to the end of the lease so you can see kind of where the taxes will be. And once again, they start falling off once we've issued those bonds. I think, did everybody get this sheet as well? I kind of brought this as a secondary. It's not in the, I've got it if anybody needs it. Okay.
Here we go. Oh, we got one? Okay.
Thank you.
He was too late.
It's interesting because we came up with a sheet when we were working on your program, and we were comparing Lawton's tax levy that relates to the sinking fund, to the bonds, to other school districts, and we were talking about how low it was because we're at 13.32, and back in the book you see that it's
Still low.
yeah stair stepped up quite a bit. But Dr. Sayana was like, well, that's interesting, but it really matters more to me when I was a superintendent of dollars per student. So what we did is took the net assessed valuation, multiplied it by the levy to get how many dollars are coming in for bonds. And most of that is going to something. There's not a whole lot of interest because these are fairly short bonds. So then we take that and divide it by the number of students. So Oklahoma City schools, and this is in order of attendance, $880 per student per year as it relates to sinking fund revenue. And once again, the state funding formula kind of balances it, tries to make it more equal for wealthy communities versus less wealthy communities, but that doesn't take into account the bond funds. I mean, there's no balancing on this. Either you're getting the money or you're not getting the money, and it's the voters that decide that. So with that, you can see Lawton's at $423, and that's this coming tax cycle. You were actually about half of that, right? You're about half of that when you pass this thing. So yeah, I mean, it speaks for itself now. It's in front of you. I don't have to draw your attention to all of them, but significantly higher. And when we do get to the 25 to 26 mils, we will still be under Oklahoma City. It'll be $800 and something per student. So you're not. If you're talking to voters, I mean, you're still not shooting to the moon, and it's a really high tax rate as it compares to other people. I added cash on the bottom just because it was a local school district, and so that was $1,734 per student. So once again, you're still going to be half of that, even when we make it to that 25 to 26 mils. So that's it. happy to answer any questions.
I have a question. If you could just, I noticed on our encumbrances on the last page, we had, we paid S&P Global for an analytical service. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is that?
Sure. So S&P, and there's the rating agencies. There's Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and a couple of, but those are the two major rating agencies. So people that buy the bonds do their own due diligence, but it's basically a rating that says how high quality those independent agencies consider your debt to be. So we pay them a fee, and that fee, by getting that rating, people have a higher comfort level because they don't necessarily know a whole lot about Lawton, especially when you guys are doing larger bond issues. So by doing that, you get a lower interest rate. So realistically, paying a rating, in fact, we wouldn't do it if it wasn't the case. By paying approximately $20,000 to S&P, instead of paying 3% on your bonds, you may pay 2.75, and it equates to hundreds of thousands of dollars of savings because it has a national rating on the bonds. And very small school districts may not do it because one, their size is too small, or two, it's just the 20,000 is too much for a small bond issue to make it up in the lower interest rate. But with you guys and the size of school district, it's a clear-cut case that you guys should get rated.
So is it a one-time fee, or we do it?
Annual.
Annual?
And it's not really annual, I would correct that. It's per bond issue.
Per bond issue?
Yeah, so if you didn't do a bond issue, you wouldn't have the fee that year. Yeah.
Any more questions?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Under item 7B, and this is connected, of course, BOK was in our Bond Oversight Committee meeting today. I think the board has a copy before them of the Bond Oversight Committee report. Twice a year, we have Bond Oversight Committee meeting. Members of our community volunteer to serve on this, and their job is to tell us whether or not we're spending the money as we promised to the community, not only what was on the ballot, but was in the communications that we promoted the bond with. And I'm pleased to say that once again, they said that we are, the committee is pleased to report, and yes, you gentlemen may step out, thank you.
Thank you.
Current and planned expenditures meet the provisions outlined in the ballot, and the intent of the funds is communicated by the school district, so they are happy. We did elect another chairperson, Reverend Whitlow has he had a 2-year term. He timed out, and so now we have Mr. Brian Henry, who will be finishing 1 more year as a co-chair, and Ms. Kimber Downey stepped in for a 2-year term. So we rotate our chairs just in case one's absent. So sometimes that happens. So they're just committed for 2 years. They had 3 questions that they came through with. They wanted me to, and I'm gonna go visit Woodland Hills and make sure that some of those, there were concerns about the exposed, some of the work had not been completed last time they had visited. Wanting to break down the total technology and furniture budgets for the SIP, and I'll get that out in an email to the board and the bond. Anytime I send the Bond Oversight Committee an update, I send the board an update. And the last one, Dr. Polk, Ms. Ellis, and I visited the floor at the gym at Tomlinson Middle School, and I couldn't exactly remember what the plan was, so I told them I'd get an update about what the plan was to repair that floor. So there was damage to the floor because the roof had leaked so badly, and then during construction it actually leaked a little bit more, because that's sometimes what happens during construction. But we've got a plan, and we'll make sure we get that information to them and to the board. As part of that presentation, we had our 2 committees. Eisenhower Middle School and the safe rooms are very easy to see progress on. But 2 of the most critical things that are happening behind the scenes are, one, their sites are working on their own purchases, those equipment, and those allocations have been in their hands for quite some time. But one of the other things is the furniture and technology committees. That process has taken a little bit longer than we expected, but fortunately we're going to do 2 allocations this year. Once they spend this one, they'll have another one to spend. And so to give us a little bit more information into that process, I've asked AJ Watson, Mark Mattingly, and Mr. Kirchen to come present how the technology and furniture committees are operating and what we can expect. They've done this twice today, so this will be their 2nd time, and so they'll give us about a 5-minute update on both of those committee processes.
I have the privilege of chairing the Furniture SIP committee, and when I was a principal, I always said my job was easy. I just needed to hire people smarter than me, and that was pretty easy to do. So I didn't hire Charles Kirchen, but I quickly identified him on this committee as being somebody who was on top of things. And so Mr. Kirchen's done a phenomenal job. He has been chairing the priority committee and working alongside of AJ even to integrate the technology and the furniture. And so he's going to present what the furniture committee is doing right now. So, Mr. Kirchen.
For those who don't know me, I'm Chad Kirchen. I'm one of the assistant principals at Eisenhower High School. In developing the district furniture objectives, the guidance we received from the executive leadership of the district called for us to do three things. And one was the visibility of the bond projects. As we went out and encouraged people to vote for this, we wanted them to be able to see that they were getting a bang for their buck. And as a part of that, we were trying to make it somewhat equitable across the district, that it didn't appear to too much was going to one area or one set of schools. So we've developed a program to do that. The second part was the biggest impact on the student population that we could have. And in that, we're trying to buy in bulk, but we are not tying secondary and elementary together in those purchases. Now, where they're practical, we do, but we're not exactly tying those two together. And as part of the education process for us, the manufacturers use the cutoff of the third grade. They'll manufacture furniture for the third grade up through the 12th grade that is infinitely adjustable. And then there's another set for third grade and below that's primarily designed for the smaller kids. And then, of course, we're wanting to make it manageable and developing a tracking system that has a great deal of transparency and a degree of flexibility. In that, we have an overall furniture committee, and within that, after Mark developed the framework, we developed two subcommittees. One is the selection committee, and that one simply chooses from what manufacturer or what we're going to get. If everybody wants science tables, okay, we look at what science tables are available and we make a recommendation on what science tables we purchase. Once we've done that, and they're going to use everything from cost to warranty to flexibility, adaptability. One of our criteria is, can a custodian move it by themselves? So we were looking at wheels, and then everybody panicked when they looked at wheels, and we found that a lot of the manufacturers will warranty those wheels for up to 20 years. So we're looking down to that degree. Now, once we've selected what we're going to buy, we put that on a district priority committee. And simply, we're going to take everything from 1 to 158 or 458 or whatever it turns out to be, and we're going to establish a priority. Now, the priority is established completely independent of cost. If this really is our priority one item, it goes to the front of the list. Then we apply the cost to it, and then once we get our yearly allocations, we work our way down to the list, to the bottom of the list, to where we run out of funds. So we get down to where we have $54,000 left. The next project is $64,000. That's where our line is drawn for that year. And sir, you'll recognize this right out of a CGSC CAS Cube decrement list, which is exactly what it is. But since we still have a degree of money left over, we continue on down the list and look for smaller projects that we can still fund, and then we fund them that year. The idea is, once we have a decrement list, schools and the community can look at that and see, okay, I'm not getting furniture in year 1, but I am getting it in year 4. Now, within the decrement list, we developed a set of criteria. The highest priority is if something is going for students. Then it goes to common area, then it goes to storage areas, and then it goes to things for teachers. The storage area is a high priority because obviously we have considerations for being able to keep things secure. And then we added 2 additional ones. One is for safety. If it's a safety item, that automatically goes to priority 1. And again, part of the education process for me, because I'm a secondary guy, we're finding some things that are safety related at the elementary school that I would never have thought of, like bookshelves. But if the little guys are climbing up on the bookshelves and it could fall on them, that becomes a safety issue. The other one was incomplete projects. So let's say that a school received 20 sewing machines, but we don't have the cabinets to be able to utilize those. Well, we make that a higher priority so they don't just sit in a closet somewhere rusting. We put those things into use while they're still viable. Once we've developed our decrement list, it will go to the district committee for blessing and adjustment, and then it will go to the executive leadership of the board. Now, at that point, the process allows them to make adjustments. If they want to move item 17 down to 23 and number 56 up to number 7, because they have a greater visibility of what's over the horizon than we do at the building level. It doesn't invalidate the process, it just makes it a more flexible document. So the idea being is you might look at this list and see, I'm not getting furniture this year, but I'm getting it in year 3. But part of our reasoning is you got it in year 3 because you're getting a whole lot of technology in year 1 and 2. Or you're getting a complete cafeteria renovation in year 2. So the idea is it's equitable across the district. Everybody can see I'm getting something, and you can program when you're going to get those items. Now the last part, Dr. Deegan also asked us to take a look at how we would dispose of furniture. Real problem for the elementary school is storage. Obviously we can't put it in their gyms. That shuts down instructions for weeks. So our recommendation is we're going to transport that to central locations, and our recommendation is the 4 elementary schools that were closed. And then once we put that older furniture there, we're going to put pictures of it on the website so every school in the district can look at it and say, hey, it's older, but it's better than what I have now, and I'm not getting furniture until year 4, so they can go and get that. And we established a priority for that. Week 1 will be open only to Lawton Public schools. Second week will be available to schools of any size or any place. And the third would be available to everybody. And then if nobody takes it, Dr. Deegan has tasked us to have celebrations, so we're going to have a big bonfire or something. Because we're pack rats, we're educators, we don't want to throw away anything that's useful. But once we get down to that point where it's something that nobody can use, we are going to find a way to dispose of it. The last thing I'd say is working hand in hand with AJ is part of our criteria is making sure our furniture is compatible with the technology. We don't want to build something that Chromebooks are not going to fit on, or is not going to be compatible with what he's doing on his side. And that's pretty much where we are at the furniture side.
Correct.
I have a question.
Yes.
We saw, I don't know, 2 or 3 board meetings ago where we have a committee for our special needs children where they assess the safety things that they need. Is that something that they bring to them?
Yes.
Yes.
What we have is every principal has developed their own priority list, and they have explanations on why that item is. We've also taken the subcommittee, and I've taken each person and assigned them to 3 schools. So while they're looking at a particular item, they can articulate that this is, in fact, a safety issue.
Okay.
And so every school has a building rep, but then I've also assigned people on my committee to be an expert on at least 3 schools.
Okay.
We are meeting on Thursday to refine our list, because obviously some things have changed since last November when we first developed them. So our intent is to have at least the first stage of the decrement list done this month and start ordering off of it.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirchner.
Okay, so I'm here to talk about the technology. In this bond, there were 2 parts pertaining to technology. One was the student devices, which would be Chromebooks or iPads or maybe Windows laptops, and then classroom technology, projectors and smart boards and TVs and Elmos and all that good stuff. So the first decision that we made as a committee was to go ahead and split up. This was a learning thing for me, but elementary representatives and secondary representatives bring a lot of different things to the table. So I think that was a great decision to go ahead and split those up. Another reason was the bond laid out that the secondary schools would be the first to get student devices as far as one-to-one. So the committee also determined that the classroom technology should start at the elementary level. So the first time that we met, we kind of went over that and looked at the bond presentations and covered that. And the elementary representatives, they received that pretty well. And they even, the Title I schools, they determined that the ones that should be receiving the most technology first are those that don't have very much. So as far as the process on the student devices, we've been meeting since, I think it was May 9th, and we came up with a rubric to determine the tiering of teachers. And the reason that we did that is because we don't have enough money to go one-to-one right away. So we have to go with classroom sets, which is a cart of Chromebooks. Kind of like how we do for you guys here at the meeting. We have a cart, you guys come in, all get yours out, and you go to work. The Tier 1 teachers, those will be the teachers who are going to get the cart in their room and they're going to go to work right away. I mean, they already know what to do with it. The kids they're knocking out stuff, everything in Google Classroom. So we sent out a survey to all the sites, and the principals filled it out. This is how many Tier 1 teachers we have, this is how many Tier 2 teachers we have. That way we could kind of decide where we should put the money first. And I think that's going to work out really well in the second year. The committee determined that there's just not enough technology out in the schools yet, that we need to get stuff out there now. So we're looking at an equal distribution of devices to 6 secondary schools, and hopefully we can get a purchase order at the end of this month for these devices. Now when we talk about the devices, we're looking at Chromebooks because they're cheaper than iPads, and we believe that the kids need the keyboard. We're also looking at accidental damage protection. And what that means is if they drop it off their desk, if they kick it down the hall, whatever happens to it, if it gets wet, we get a replacement as many times for the 4 years of the coverage. So I think that is essential in any device that we get. We've got to have that kind of coverage. The next part is professional development for the teachers who will be receiving these carts. So the quotes that I've asked for, they've got to include 2 days of training for about 100 teachers. That way the teachers have already gotten some sort of training and they've got additional training here. And my favorite part is this software that goes along with it. And it's called GoGuardian. So if you're up there teaching, or if I'm up here teaching and I think that you're going along with me in the board, I can go back and look and see exactly what you were watching indefinitely, whenever you were in class, 3 weeks ago, down to the minute. And this classroom management tool is essential in this rollout. It'll also provide some sort of statistics and tracking on how well the devices have been implemented at each site. So that's where we are with the student devices. Now the classroom technology has kind of been put on hold, and I'm hopeful to get that started as soon as we get an order made on these student devices. We kind of already know where we want to go with that, and replacing smart boards, TVs, that sort of thing. But we'll know more once we meet again. Any questions for me?
Did you say 6 secondary schools?
I did, and that's because Tomlinson already has one-to-one with iPads.
Got you, okay.
Did you have copies of this?
I do. Can I pass
I'm
those
the
out?
only one that got one because I was at the bond committee meeting.
Okay, can I pass those out?
Oh,
That's it. That's it. It means something.
Thank you. All right, that'll work, thank you.
Any questions about the Bond Oversight Committee report or any of the information?
I was excited to see how enthusiastic everyone is on this project and the work that y'all are putting into it. Couldn't be more, you make me excited just thinking about furniture.
And it's gone a little slower to get to this first, but they're building a model that serves the foundation for the next 10 years, that's
Oh, yeah.
replicable for the next 10 years. And so about the time they get this one done, they'll have to start on the next purchases, which we'll be able to make next spring and have them in place. So we'll be able to purchase 2 years. We'll be completely caught up with the process by then.
Wow.
One little piece of information I shared with the Bond Oversight Committee is that we started the site bond committee process in 2015. They've been using it. It's been working extremely well. It made all this very possible. One thing we changed this year, every principal in his or her building, in the office that's accessible to the public, has to establish, and I told them they could buy it with their bond money, a filing cabinet that will hold any bond expenditure in an easy-to-read format. They've got the format, so any parent, anybody in the community can walk into their building at any time and say, what did you spend in 2017? What did you spend with this money? What did you spend with that money? Through the next whole series of this bond, the whole life of it, before they can spend the next year's, they've got to verify they have that archived in their building. They'll send a summary sheet up here to the district, so we'll have 2 copies. But any district site, anytime, they can walk in and say, what'd you spend it on? So if parents are curious, I think it's just an extra level of transparency.
Well, again, thank y'all.
Could not be prouder of the work they've done. It's been amazing. Item 7C. We discussed this at a previous board meeting. This is before the board. Traditional format, 2 meetings in most months. So.
Call roll, please.
What am I doing?
thought maybe I was behind. I'm awake, you're awake. Okay, we got ahead of Kevin.
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
For superintendent's announcements, this is for you all. I hope you all, I want to commend our board for the amount of information that you all are receiving and digesting is amazing, but we're doing so much as a district right now. Our board meetings have gotten longer, you're receiving more information, but I don't think there's any other way to do it. So if we're giving you too much, slow us down. If you need more, tell us. But I'm just really impressed with the board's ability and desire to grab a hold of all of this.
Well,
It's
and
important.
For me, like I've said before, you know, a lot of these projects we're going through and we just approve. And by doing this, you allow us to understand really what we're approving, and you're giving us the data that says, this is worked, you know, and this is how well we're doing with it.
And then the other half of that, I want to commend the staff. I know there was a question, kind of Ms. Donahue had last board meeting. She got me the information. She and I think Ms. Jackson both got me the information. We got to the board the next day. But our staff has just done a tremendous job. They've been working so hard. There have been so many things going on. 22 projects working simultaneously that are either wrapping up or starting last week.
And not to mention the big rocks.
Not to mention the big rocks. They have been working, and so one little quick news I want to share is the Lawton FFA Food Science and Technology Career Development Team, which consisted of Colby Gilpin, Elizabeth Kopsky, Connor Mabry, and Dean Lester, are in the status of being gold emblem winning team by placing 8th in the nation when they competed in October at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis. As a gold emblem team, they get to travel to International Production and Processing Expo in Atlanta in February. So that's Lawton High's food team, so it's very good. That concludes my presentation, unless the board has questions.
Okay, item 8, consent agenda. Do we need to pull anything, any items?
8F1. I'm sorry. 8F1, the sanction. I move for the remainder of the consent agenda.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
All right, I make a motion to approve 8F1.
Second.
Call the roll whenever you're ready.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Abstain.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Okay. Let's see, I guess we're down to executive session. Do we need one?
If the board wishes to discuss form and evaluation of the academic goals and/or the customer service goals, we didn't review those last time. Be up to the board.
It's up to Kent.
It's up to me.
It's up to Kent.
And the reason I say, if I don't get,
Everybody jump at one time.
whether or not I give feedback to the staff so they can prepare for the next time.
Yeah, for the presentation.
But otherwise, I can probably guess the feedback, but I don't want to guess. So it's up to the board, but we need it.
It won't take long. I'll move for executive session.
I'll second.
Call the roll, please. We're very excited about this executive.
It's not fair not to give any feedback, though.
Miss
So hard.
Miss Clodfelter?
I don't even know what I should say. Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges? Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Statement of executive session minute for November 5th, 2018. The Board of Education went in executive session at 6:25 PM. Members present included Kent Jester, President, Carla Clodfelter, Vice President, Patty Nyworth, Kelly Edwards, Dr. Lori Bridges. Others present included Tom Deegan, Superintendent. Items discussed included the employing, promoting, and receiving resignations of individual certified and support salaried personnel as listed on the certified and support personnel reports. Formative evaluation of Superintendent Deegan's discussion of board big rocks and departmental goals. During the executive session, the board discussed these items and no other items, and no action was taken. The board returned to open session at 6:52 PM. This constitutes the minutes of the executive session. Okay, let's see. Now I lost my place again. Superintendent's personnel report.
Under item 13A, I have approval of certified and support personnel reports.
Make a motion, we accept. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter? Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms. Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
And under item 13B, consideration and action, if any, regarding the formative evaluation of Superintendent Deegan.
I don't think there's any action required. Okay, item 14 is new business.
I don't know of any new business.
Next regular board meeting date is Thursday, November 15th, 5 PM here. Do we need to set any additional board meeting dates?
I'm not aware of any at the moment.
Do we have any board announcements?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
I second.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. Nyworth?
Yes.
Ms.
sorry?
Edwards?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Vote.
Mr. Jester?
Yes. Oh,
We have to vote.
great announcement.
What?
Vote tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know if we could say that.
Thank you.
I didn't know if we could
Say vote, you just
Oh,
can't say
Can't
the
say
vote
anything
for.
Can't say who.
Say how.